And a very good morning. Welcome to Chapter 10 of Project Management, Leading the Project Team. So in this presentation, this happens to be one of my favorite presentations, one of my favorite topics, is the idea of leadership. We're also going to look briefly at ethics as it pertains overall to leading an ethical behavior within business, but really as it pertains to project management as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we're going to look at all of these topics. Go ahead, pause this video, read through these: leadership and understanding its role, its importance. Clearly, if we don't have an effective leader, both at the administration level, the high-end level of the company that supports the project, that's engaged in the project, as well as a project manager that can lead the team. Now, understand, a lot of times, folks, leadership doesn't mean that there's one person that's dedicated to lead. We can have sub-leaders and sub-leaders of the sub-leaders. Eventually we have to get down to the people who are doing the work. I don't like to call them followers because at any point they too can become leaders. We'll look at the 6 basic leadership styles. I've got some things that I've added from my personal experience into this presentation as well, outside of what is discussed in the outcomes for the chapter. So we're going to look at emotional intelligence, definitely ethics, and understand its importance in project leadership, its importance in life, really, process of making ethical decisions, difference between a work group and a team. We're going to look at all of this. And of course, how culture plays into this. A lot of times, some of the poor ethical decisions we've seen major business leaders make has been due to the established culture within the organization. So we'll take a look at that as well. So management and leadership. So management, right, is managing, and I give you a little graphic here. It's planning, organizing, staffing, coordinating, controlling. That's management. Leadership is that higher level of influencing, motivating, inspiring, creating, mentoring. And then things that, both managers and leaders need to do. They need to effectively communicate. Their job is to solve challenges. And then, of course, make decisions. And sometimes the decisions we make are not popular with the people that are affected by the decision. So those are the difference. Leadership, again, centering on the vision, the change, the getting results that involve setting the direction, aligning people, motivating people. And sometimes it definitely means from a leadership standpoint. A lot of people think when we get into disciplinary action, we're talking about managing. And the fact is we are still leading. If we have someone on our project team that is not performing, it's affecting the rest of the project team, then we need to be a leader. We need to stand up and ask that person to exit the project team, get off the bus, if you will. So Kouzes and Posner did this study over 20 years on effective leadership. It gave them a lot of good material, good solid material, found that leaders are often ordinary people who help guide others. So think about the point and think about leaders that that don't stand in front of the crowd, but actually lead from behind. Okay, and what that looks like and how that's different. Are they outgoing? Perhaps they're not outgoing. Not all leaders are outgoing. Not all leaders want to stand in front of an audience. Define 5 practices of exemplary leadership. Here's 2 great books that I've read on the subject by those authors, the folks that did that study. The Leadership Challenge, it's in its 6th edition, and then The Truth About Leadership. So no fads, heart of the matter, facts you need to know. The basic principles of leadership haven't changed in a long time. We can put a new marketing spin on it, but the fact is a leader remains a leader. So according to Kouzes and Posner's model of exemplary leadership, it essentially encompasses these 5 areas. We need to be able to model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, always thinking outside the box. And in some cases, that means going into a meeting and actually assigning somebody to play the part of devil's advocate so that we don't sit in a meeting and bandwagon. Okay, a bandwagon meaning we all agree for whatever reason. We agree so we can be done with the meeting. We can agree so we can get back to work. We agree because we don't like controversy and challenges. So there's a lot of reasons to agree. And the best thing you can do, in my humble opinion, is to set someone whose job it is to be the devil's advocate, which means they can't agree, or a couple people that cannot agree, that their job is to challenge what we're talking about, challenge decisions that are made. That way we don't bandwagon, and then that person really doesn't feel like they're out of sorts, if you will, with the group because they've been given that task. Enable others to act. That is huge. How many times have you been in a job or talked to a customer service rep and all you wanted was a $10 refund? And they're like, oh, well, I've got to go talk to my supervisor about that. That's not enabling others to act. And the cost of that, the cost of waiting, finding a supervisor, what's the cost and impression we're giving to our customers when we're dealing with people who can't act, when we have to get up to a third level, when you knew it was a third level problem to begin with, but I had to go through level 1 customer support and 2 and 3, and encourage the heart. So let's not forget, and we're going to talk about what motivates people to work, what motivates people to come to jobs. And what you're going to find out is that money is not the first thing. And for a lot of people, money is not the reason that they're motivated to come to work. So look at these, pause this. We're going to go through each one in detail. So when we talk about modeling the way, what we're talking about is most effective leaders lead by example. So an example of this, when I was younger and first starting into leadership, starting into management, a gentleman by the name of Dick Wendt, who started a company called JELD-WEN, huge multinational company manufacturing windows and doors. And it was started in Klamath Falls, Oregon with one mill, the Pelican Mill. And I remember one day I watched him walk through the plant. He had had meetings that morning, so he was dressed in a suit and tie, not his normal attire. And I watched him take off his tie so it wouldn't get caught in a machine, and take off his jacket and proceed to empty a cut bin for somebody that was sitting there cutting wood. And I walked over to him and I said, Mr. Wendt, I'll be happy to do that for you. You shouldn't be doing that. And his response was this: Eric, if I teach you nothing else, let me teach you this. Never ask someone to do a job that you're not willing to do yourself. And he made that point very clear. He was talking about from the janitor all the way up to the CEO of the company. Don't ask somebody to do a job or do a task that you're not willing to do yourself. So you find your own voice based on your personal values and beliefs. What we believe personally, our morals, our ethics, etc., come into how we lead a project team or how we lead in general. Modeling the way sets an example of what the leader expects from others and gives the leader the right to lead others. So just because we're put into a leadership position doesn't mean we have the skills to be a leader. Okay? Let's be really clear on that. We have to earn the right to lead. And again, there's a difference between leadership and management. As an instructor, especially teaching online courses, I'm doing way more management than I am leading. I'm hoping to inspire my students to learn the material and do their thing. And I do that by letting them know I'm constantly re-educating myself as well. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily leading or inspiring. I hope I am. But I tend to be doing more management. So inspire a shared vision. Exemplary leaders have an exciting vision or dream that acts as a force to ignite a passion. Now understand, as a project manager, we can only do so much of this because we're managing the project. We need leaders above us that get excited about the project we're doing, the impact it's going to have on the company, why we're doing it, who's doing it, when we're going to get it done, giving that support. It's not just flapping our gums. It's taking action and saying, you know what, we're going to do this for you all so that you have time to produce a better product, to produce a better project result. The vision should inspire people so that they can become committed to the purpose. They need to understand the needs, their interests, what the language is, engage in dialogue, not monologue. What's the difference? One is completely listening, the other is interaction. So we inspire by asking the questions, what can we do? Or what can I as a leader do to take the barriers out of the way so that you can produce a better product in the responsibilities you have in the aspect of this project? We always need to be challenging the process. So exemplary leaders venture out and accept challenges, not the status quo. What this means, by the way, is that leaders are always willing to fail and fail often. They are willing to take risks. They are willing to be wrong. Because if leaders aren't willing to step out and be wrong and fail, then the people they're leading aren't going to want to step out, challenge the status quo, and fail. So I remember one time in my master's program hearing a story where a gentleman was on an oil rig and he was new to management and he was younger and he needed to make a major decision that was going to affect the whole entire oil rig. And he kept putting it off and he kept putting it off and he kept putting it off. And the decision he needed to make was to stop the oil rig and make repairs or just continue producing less based on the equipment that was broken. And one of the regular oil rig gentlemen, a gentleman way older than him, had the courage and the leadership, because this was his boss. He was walking into his office and he said, you know what? Sometimes making the decision, even if it's wrong, is better than not making a decision at all. You have people out there waiting for a decision and you're not building trust if you don't make a decision right now as to what we're supposed to do. So, that whole analysis paralysis thing tends to come around fear, right? We overanalyze because we're worried about what the result will be. Sometimes we just need to accept that we need to make a decision and move forward. Most leaders do not create, develop, or come up with new products, services, or processes. It is the people that they inspire, that they lead, who are allowed to be creative, who are allowed to make mistakes, who are allowed to try things. Google is a great example. If you work for Google, you get time each week to work on unique projects that have nothing to do with Google Google does today as a business. They actually create that time. They have services for their employees that normally would take them away from the workplace. Things like getting their laundry done, going to the dry cleaners, picking up prescriptions, so that people spend time being creative at work. They are often good listeners who recognize good ideas. Now I realize you're listening to me and I'm not listening to you, but the fact is leaders are willing to listen. They're willing to make the time to listen, to create that one-on-one or that team-on-one leader conversation. They support the ideas. They challenge the process. They minimize the risk of failure for others while making people feel safe and comfortable in taking risks. So we just talked about that. Take risks. It's pretty simple. Enable others to act. So leaders must get others to act by encouraging collaboration, building trust among the project stakeholders. Leaders provide an environment that makes it possible for others to do good work. Okay, so I have a very dear friend that's sort of like a mentor, and he always says, keep up the good work. He's always encouraging me to move in the same direction. People should feel empowered and motivated. If you want people to do their best at the workplace, empower them to make decisions. Give them reasons to be motivated. That doesn't always mean money. You need to figure out what motivates that individual. For some people, it's money. For others, it's praise. For others, it's time off of work. They'll work harder when they're at work because they know they're going to get some additional time off. You need to figure out what motivates each and every person and take that into consideration. There is no one way to lead every person in your organization or on your project team. Leaders should give power away, not hang on to it. Empower the people that are on your project team to be powerful themselves. Okay? There is nothing worse than feeling powerless in a job that you're trying to do that you have to show up to every day. Let's quickly look at the last one, encourage the heart. So as we look at all of these and we look at the people, we have to consider what's inside the people. Exemplary leaders rally others to carry on by encouraging the heart. It can be simple gestures such as a thank you, more dramatic things such as a marching band, an unexpected party, not just on birthdays. Think about it. Sending flowers, sending a dozen golf balls to an employee who plays golf just to say thank you. Or if they're Pro V1s, just send a sleeve. That may be all you can afford. It's those out-of-the-box thinking things as we talk about employees and what they do that allows them to be great and allows us to be even greater leaders. Authentic rituals and celebrations that align with the team's value. Notice I didn't say, hey, let's, create a mambo line around the inner office. No, we're talking about authentic celebrations, authentic recognition of people's work. So this is a great place to stop. We will look in the next video at leadership styles. Hope to see you in the next video. Take care.